Hi guys, today I will be teaching you how to make some apple boba. So the first thing you're going to want to do is puree 3 apples. What I did was used a Ninja blender, but you could of course use one of these. I used both. And you want to add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of water. If you need to add more, go ahead. Now I'm going to use half a cup of sugar. This is a full cup, but there is a fill line where it says half a cup of sugar. You're going to want to put your pan heat on the stove to about 4, and you can always put it up to 5 and put it higher as is needed. And right now I'm stirring my mixture, so what I did was I just added the puree into this little pan. And I added about half of that half sugar. As you can see, half of it's already gone. That fill line right there is the half of a line. So I added some. Now we're going to wait till it starts to get little tiny bubbles. Then we're going to add the rest until it starts to actually boil. Now I just added the last bit of my sugar, letting it boil now. It finally came to a boil after 5 to 10 minutes. Now that it's done boiling, I took it off of the heat and I'm letting it just sit here. I want to let it sit here until it's fully cooled off. We don't want it just a little bit where it's not steaming anymore. Like, it should be to the point that you can touch it where it won't burn you. So it has to be cooled off. Don't put it in the fridge. We just want it to settle on its own. Just added some ice cubes just to let it cool down. Don't add too many, else it'll get too liquidy. So now I'm going to sift this, just pouring it in, and then all the juice is going into a bowl, and then basically we're just making applesauce. That's pretty much all we're doing. Don't pat it down like that, because then we're pretty much going to have like no more stuff because it's all going to come out. But right now it is dripping. Let it drip. Okay, now that it's pretty much done dripping, it's still dripping a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to transfer it to another bowl, and we're going to scoop all of that out, all of that applesauce, and now we literally have applesauce. And here's what the applesauce looks like. So, like I said, it was runny before, but now this is how thick it's supposed to be since I ran the juice out. Now we are going to add in a cup of flour and see where that gets us. We're going to stir. Now this is what it looks like after using a cup of flour. Now we're going to take 1/8 of a cup, and we're going to take out the sifter first. Then we're going to take out 1/8 of a cup and use some of that apple juice from before. Here's some of the apple juice. We're going to pour it in, and this is also giving it more of an apple flavor. We're going to pour it in, stir it. So after I mix that in, I just added another half a cup of flour. So it's kind of what you would do with a cake. You're dry, then you're wet, and then you're dry. Now here's what it looks like. I just plopped that on a cutting board, and now I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of flour on it and the surface. There's no measurements, it's just keeping it from sticking. After about 15 minutes of rolling some boba, I got some bigger boba, some small boba, different sizes. You can make different sizes and shapes, or you can have them all the same, or whatever. This is not all of the batter because that was about 1/3 of it. You can put this in the fridge if you are not going to use it all. I have a small pot with about 2 cups of water, and we are going to bring that to a boil. Once it's to a boil, we're going to cook this boba. By the way, when you put the boba in the bowl, make sure you add some flour just so they don't stick to each other. If you are going to be using the same sized pot, about 2 cups of water is what you should put. Or if you're going to be using a pot that's like this size, this is the pot that I used to make the apple puree. If you're going to use that, you should put about 4 to 5 cups just so the boba is floating above the water so it's not down touching the ground. Or if you are going to be using a big pot, I would put about 8 cups of water, but it all depends on how much boba you're cooking or you're boiling, whatever. Okay, now I'm doing a voiceover because my house is getting a little messy, but you're going to want to constantly be stirring like every 1 minute just so the boba doesn't stick to the other bobas and so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan or the pot. And then I also have this little like spaghetti scoop that I want to check the boba with. So it when you know when it's done, it's going to start floating up and it's going to like start becoming clear and a little bit sticky. Now I'm going to add about 2 of these 1/2 teaspoon, so 1 teaspoon of brown sugar into the pot. And this is totally optional. This is just going to make it sweeter. If you don't want sweetener, don't add sweetener. And then I like to rinse it off, so I put the boba in the sifter and rinse it off real good, cool it off, and it'll make it chewy. Then I get a big bowl and put some water in it, and then I will get some ice cubes. So I make like ice water. And then I put the boba in that bowl so the boba can cool off and it doesn't stick to each other. Then once I drain out the water, I add another 1/2 teaspoon of brown sugar, and then I add my boba into the bowl or my cup that I'll be drinking out of, and then that juice from earlier I put in the fridge, and then I poured it in there. And now here's the final result, and then I will be tasting it. So the juice is a little bit on the sweeter side because of the sugar in it, but you of course can throw out the juice and just not use it. You can always use like a milk tea, but you can do what I just did. So if it's a little too sweet for you, don't have to use it. The boba is just perfect. It's nice and chewy, and it's got a sweetener on it, the brown sugar. It's so good. And here's me making a weird face. And I did it again. I don't know why I did it. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.